All right. All right, everybody. What's up? Kind of a different start to the show on the Sunday. I'm actually off of work for some miracle on the Sunday, so I'm actually here. But here with just a couple contributors for us, Evan and Brian, which if you guys want to go with your Twitters and everything, can.
Sure. My Twitter's at Evan Salam. I honestly haven't been using Twitter as much. I do need to get into. I don't even have a pic there. So
you're good. I honestly don't blame you there.
And I don't tweet as much. I do like go through it and comment on people's stuff more than I actually like tweet myself. So yeah,
that's fair.
And I'm at Vandergrad 92, and unlike Evan, I'm constantly busy on Twitter. To be honest with you, I really wasn't till I guess it would have been late 2020. I was in need of a kidney, and actually let me rephrase that. It's amazing. The lady was from Arizona, and she had a friend that was the living horse trainer in California, and through that donor and recipient, I actually started my search, and we did a podcast, and she found out about it, and flew up from Arizona to Nashville for testing, and then later in August for the transplant. So,
wow,
nice.
That's awesome. The power of the people, you know.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, why don't we cover a little bit of the major news, I guess, so far. To bigger names, it's really not a lot out this week. So it's basically just Odell, Josh Jacobs, and Will Fuller, which we knew all of them were out well into this morning. So obviously take them out of your lineups. Other than that, official inactives, Ramondre Stevenson, Marshawn Lattimore, Jamison Crowder, Paris Campbell, Denzel Mims, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So a lot of defensive players, not a lot of offensives. Jonnu Smith.
I do kind of want to talk about the ones on the Jets because I feel like that actually means something for Elijah Moore, because it means that it means that the coaching staff believes in him, right? Because he's inactive over Mims, and he's drafted this year and then last year.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Mims at that point.
Yeah, I don't either. I traded for him in the offseason, and then it went downhill pretty quickly. It's funny, like all members of the trade ended up being irrelevant. It was like, so I traded Gus Edwards and Giovanni Bernard for Mims, and literally every single member of that trade is irrelevant. So
Giovanni Bernard is the only one that has a chance to be relevant.
That's true. Just because he's on the Bucs, yeah.
I think Moore can have a pretty good day. There's some safety you would think in Corey Davis as well, but again, it's the Patriots. They are going to basically just send A to play. It feels like
that's what I'm afraid of. Because I was debating, like one of the start sit questions I was debating for myself was Corey Davis, Chase Claypool, and what was it? Corey Davis, Chase Claypool, and Mike Williams. I ended up going with Mike Williams because Corey Davis is good, but like I think that Belichick is just going to destroy Zach Wilson because he always does that to rookie QBs. So well.
You were the right decision. Mike Williams would be my choice too. The matchup's better.
The matchup's better. I've just, Mike Williams always has the risk of like he pulls his hamstring in the first play and he's out for the game. Like that can always happen. So
yeah. All right. We do have a question already for start sits. I believe this is Elijah Mitchell against Fournette for PPR flex.
Okay.
Evan, what do you think?
I saw somewhere that Elijah Mitchell's getting the start today. At least that's what the beat reporters are saying. I mean, then again, the beat reporters can always be like, Kyle Shanahan loves these tricks. I would say, Trey Sermon is active today. That's on the active list.
Yes.
I want to say Fournette because I don't know. Because Rojo was in the doghouse last week, but then again, Bruce Arians did say that he was going to get the start this week, but that's Bruce Arians saying that, so he always plays game. I think that Bruce Arians has a different definition of starter. Like when he says somebody's a starter, he just means that like they're active for the game. He doesn't mean like they're the top of the depth chart.
Yeah, I feel like starter for him means they'll be on the field. But for me, I would. I would go Mitchell,
Yeah, I
but
guess
I
Mitchell.
think that's because of like a lower floor for Fournette. Even with Sermon active this week and Hasty playing, but didn't really get a lot of play time last week, even in a blowout for most of the game. The beat reporters have said that Mitchell is going to carry the load this week. That could mean everything and nothing with the 49ers. Yeah. And he's going up against a tough run defense in the Eagles, who just stifled Mike Davis. I'm not sure the talent correlation between those two, but I think I would just go Mitchell just for the safety and the chance for a higher ceiling too. I think Mitchell gives you a little bit of both, whereas Fournette literally he almost needs Rojo to screw up to have like the high floor.
We were breaking up. It sounded like the choices were Elijah Mitchell, Fournette, and Sermon.
That's it,
right?
No, it's just Mitchell and Fournette. It's on the screen right there. Okay. I don't know if you see that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I would rather go with Fournette. The one thing about the game is they've got an implied total of 32, and in all honesty, the Falcons played last week like they did a situation where the running game can just kind of go off.
Yeah, but for that, it's also PPR, and then for that, is it going to go off with Fournette or is it going off with Rojo? That's the,
Yeah, they kind of do go back and forth.
I think Ronald Jones, in my opinion, just between the tackles right now is the better running back. Obviously, the perfect punch out last week sat him on the bench for the rest of the game, but
he got unlucky with that.
Yeah, but
I think that because of Rojo being there, I think that Rojo is more of a risk than Sermon is to Mitchell.
Yeah. Yes.
Considering that Sermon was inactive last week, and like Kyle Shanahan said that like Mitchell was ahead of him because he played better. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think the same amount of running backs get touches for both teams, and at that point we have Mitchell, who is the starter, quote unquote, as of now, versus Fournette and Rojo and Bernard, who are all quote unquote starters. So it's it's going to be, it might be closer than we would hope for, but I would go, especially like touchdown upside. I think I would go Mitchell, with how efficient the passing game was for the Bucs last week.
Yeah, the Bucs are going to be passing a good amount. I mean, they're going to be passing a good amount in the beginning, at least in the first half, for sure.
Yes.
If they have a huge lead going into the second half, then they probably won't in the second. But I mean, that can obviously very much happen with the Falcons. I still think Mitchell. I mean, this could be wrong. Like, we can be completely like Mitchell could end up being like second fiddle to Trey Sermon, and then Kyle Shanahan just runs him the whole game. Like, that's possible. So.
Man, it's possible, but that would be really weird to go from inactive to the starter.
It would be, yeah. It could be like a motivation trick. It could be that like Kyle Shanahan wants to get the most out of his players by making that by accessing the competitiveness in them, being like, oh, if you want to be on the field, you got to be good. You were inactive last week because you sucked.
It's very true.
Do you all think JaMychal Hasty will have any role at all?
Yeah, I think he'll have a role, and I think Sermon will have a role, but
I think he'll have a role. I don't think it'll be fantasy relevant. I don't think it's anything to worry about for us.
We've seen
he had like 4 carries. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we've seen for years now that San Francisco is going to use at least 2 backs in the game, if not 3. So I think all 3 have a role, but everyone else is more of a pace back. It's just rest back for Mitchell for this week, but it's a tough run defense, so he's going to probably need a touchdown to be all that relevant.
Yeah, true. That's true of most running backs that don't catch the ball. So.
It's true. Look at Josh Jacobs last week.
Exactly. Yeah. Without those touchdowns, it was pretty bad for him.
Yeah, it would have been. All right. First, no problem. Any other questions from anyone else? Please drop them in the comments. Obviously, I have the ticker going, but I'll say it again for everyone listening. But first one from Twitter. We have answered most of these, but if any viewers have something close to this, Jamar Chase or Deebo Samuel. I assume most of these are, unless it says different, I would assume all are PPR.
Okay.
I'm going Jamar Chase personally.
Deebo playing again? Who are the Bengals playing this week?
They have Chicago.
The Bears.
Okay, then yeah, I'll probably go with Jamar Chase. I just think that because Debo, I mean, I don't think Brandon Ayuk can be written off just from that 1 week. I mean, I know he was a healthy and active, and I know that Kyle Shanahan, it is. We were just talking about how it's weird to go from nothing to being the starter next week, but Kyle Shanahan can easily do that. And that does, I mean, and Debo, it's not like Debo's a bastion of good health. So
No.
No, I mean, okay, anybody can get injured, though, so I'm not really going to hold that against him.
The
I would say what worries me more is Brandon Ayuk getting more touches than we would like to hope. So I'd probably go with the other one. Who's the other one? Oh, Jamar Chase.
Chase. Yeah.
I would go with Jamar Chase because I think that he's this. I honestly I was laughing when in the offseason when he was like, I can't see the ball. There's no line on it. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? But then he balls out last week. So then, that was all just nonsense. So I think that he's the top receiver over there, and I think they're going to need to throw. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jamar Chase.
The worst thing about Debo, he's always so much high ceiling, low floor, and he just went completely off last week. The fact he's not going to have the exact same performance, and he'll go it in because he's rarely consistent. But he has big weeks, so
yeah,
it's very true. I think our actual consensus rankings on the week have Debo slightly ahead, but it's very, very close. But unfortunately for people that did this that aren't on this stream, Jamar Chase is my start of the week at wide receiver, so it's going to be Jamar Chase for me. It's just higher upside, I think, in a game where I just don't. I would rather trust Joe Burrow than Jimmy G, basically. And especially, I mean, Ayuk, even though he didn't do anything, he played 47% of the snaps, didn't play in the first quarter, then continued to play. So I think he plays this week. It's just, it might be a even split between the two.
Yeah. And I will say this. If the same thing happens this week as last week, then Debo the rest of the way. I would be like, okay, 2 week sample size, then I'm going with Debo. But at this point, I still think that Ayuk has a good shot of at least splitting the work. So,
and the other thing to consider is Kittle really didn't have that big role, didn't have that great of a game last week. So I don't think he has another average game. So
yeah. All right. This one is actually half point PPR and a flex: DJ Moore, Jamal Williams, or Tim Patrick.
I'm actually pretty
many, but I would go with Moore.
You go more. Okay. Because I'm going to say, I don't know, a part of me really likes Jamal Williams. I mean, I know that I saw that clip this week and that was awesome where he was like, the line, I was, tossed out by the Packers and the Lions took me and gave me dinner. And that was a nice clip. I actually like the fact that he gets a lot of targets though. He doesn't, I mean, Swift, I think, dominated the snaps. I think it was 53-35 or something like that. Yeah. But he was getting targets. They're going to be down. They're going to need to throw the ball. The Lions are always going to be down. That's a pretty good rule, right? And he's a running back. I mean, running backs they have a higher ceiling than wide receivers week in, week out. But they also have a lower floor. But he gets reception, so I think that actually helps his floor a lot.
It is half point PPR though as well.
And DJ Moore. So DJ Moore's playing the Saints this week. They're gonna have to throw the ball against the Saints. It's a good team. Yeah. I think the Saints is missing some key pieces on defense, and Lattimore's out. I forget who else.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. So I think I might go with DJ Moore. Actually, he actually had a good usage. He got 8 targets last week, caught 6 of them. That's good. He didn't score a touchdown, but. I think that I would probably go DJ Moore, actually.
I think in terms of half PPR, you've got more upside in regards to more having a touchdown also. So I agree. I don't anticipate the Lions doing anything great on offense at the Packers.
Yeah, that's true.
DJ Moore for me as well. We actually have more wide receiver 19 of the week. Tim Patrick. I don't believe is in our wide receivers for this week, and Jamal Williams is at RB 25 or something, and that's in PPR. So it's for that. I think I have to leading the wide receiver that has more of the deep threat touchdown upside.
Yeah, I would say about Tim Patrick, like I do actually like Tim Patrick. Now, I mean, especially with Judy out, I do, possibly a flex option in deeper leagues. But like I'm actually starting him in a league where we have 5. Like you have 3 receivers and 2 flex, so I have to start him. That's also it's I think it's our league. I think that's the league I have with you guys.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So I do like Tim Patrick, but yeah, DJ Moore for sure.
All right.
One thing about Patrick's situation is don't sleep on KJ Hamler.
That too, true. And he's younger, so there's that.
Yeah, we discussed that this week. For me at least, they both have had the opportunity. One's been more touted in Hamler, especially coming out of college, and really Hamler hasn't had a bad anything. Like he's done okay, but Patrick has been the one that's kind of seized the opportunity of the two. And I kind of would expect that again, at least until I'm proven wrong.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to those players, it really depends on whether you want more of a ceiling or floor play, because Patrick's definitely floor play. If you want an opportunity for more upside, I think Hamler could be it.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because that's what I was going to say about the fact that he's younger. So like if you're younger, there's always the chance that you pop off, because when you're like getting acclimated to the NFL, there's always a chance that you just fucking break out. Whereas like I think Tim Patrick's been in the league for like 5 years now already. Like it's very, like what you see is what you get. He's not gonna just like immediately be a wide receiver 1. That's not about to happen. Whereas Hamler, I mean, not that it's likely with Hamler, but it's more likely with a rookie. I think he's a sophomore, but like it's more likely with the younger player than with the older one. So if you're going for upside, I would agree with you there.
All right. Next one, T. Higgins, Corey Davis, or Elijah Mitchell in full PPR. For me personally, I know our rankings. I would assume Mitchell's higher, and I think I would. It's one of those like I'm not like fully on board playing Mitchell but Corey Davis is I think like wide receiver 19 for us, or about 20, somewhere in there, but you have that looming threat of the Patriots defense. I know they don't have Gilmore, but so like the actual like one-on-one lockup isn't there necessarily. But you would expect Belichick to be like, hey, yeah, we're going to make the rookie quarterback throw to the only rookie receiver he's got, and that's all he gets. And, so for me, I think I would go Elijah Mitchell for upside. Honestly, Corey Davis and Higgins may have the same week.
Yeah, I think I would go with Higgins, because I do think that Corey Davis is going to get stuffed. I think the Patriots are going to. Belichick is just great at that. Like I remember last year, I had the Chargers. I had Eckler and I had Herbert, and it was week 13, so it was right before the playoffs, and like it was like the deciding week. And then they were playing the Patriots that week, and they just got shut down like hard. And I ended up making it into the final, like making it into the playoffs. I got lucky because the other person I was playing against had players that like I think he had Gibson, who got injured that game, and then like he had Chase Claypool, who had a terrible game. So I got lucky. But like so I think that Belichick's going to shut down the Jets, and especially it's the Jets. Like they, Belichick. If there's any team that Belichick knows how to crush, it's the Jets.
Of course, the dreams of.
Yeah. So I would say I would probably go with T. Higgins, because I still like T. Higgins. I think that Jamar Chase is probably the top receiver now, but I still do. I mean, he had a great rookie year. I think that T. Higgins is still a really talented player, and I think he's still gonna there is gonna be passes his way. I think he has a safer floor. I do agree that like Elijah Mitchell has the more like the boom potential, because if he really gets the role right and they're doing well and he's running the ball. They get touchdowns and he can have a great game. So, but I would probably go with T. Higgins for the safer floor.
I'm going with Evan. I'm on T. Higgins as well. But between the receivers, I would personally much rather have Higgins in regards to the matchup. The Patriots, that's tough. And the worst thing about Mitchell, he had 19 carries for 104 yards last week, which is great. But he had no role in the passing game. So I'm consider.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Which is a little concerning. I saw that too. I was like, I don't like that because even like Mostert had a role in the receiving game. So I don't know.
Exactly.
When you're in a committee and you don't have a receiving role, you have a very low floor. So
Okay.
You've almost got to have that tech.
yeah.
Yeah. You really kind of do. I'm just going through trying to find extra ones that aren't answered already.
I have one up here. Maybe we did it. Kareem Hunt, Tyson Williams, and James Robinson.
I'm actually
Jesus. We definitely didn't do that one. No.
I'm personally going Kareem Hunt. I love this week, so Hunt would definitely be my pick.
Yeah, I agree. Hunt. I mean, Tyson Williams is still kind of unproven. It was one game. I don't know if that's enough of a sample size. He did get a role in the receiving game, which was nice. They actually did give him like 3 targets, which was cool for running back on the Ravens. That's a lot for them. But yeah, I think that Kareem Hunt, I think that the Browns are going to destroy the Texans. I think that it's possible that so Chubb's going to get like the early game work, so like first, second, third quarter. And then there's a very high chance that it's just a blowout, so they're just going to run the ball with Hunt at the end of the game, and he'll probably get a touchdown because he's Hunt. So
the worst thing about Tyson, they came out this morning and they talked about a hot hand approach. Somebody said they couldn't see the hot hand approach from either one of the backs, and that's fine. But the reality of it is you've got 3 running backs splitting the carries. So, I just have a hard time trusting him this week. And even in the second half last week against the Raiders, he really wasn't that involved. So
yeah.
No. He was their best back for sure.
Harbaugh he came out and said that they were going to use a committee, and he said that the days of a single running back being the dominant one is over. That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, they're over when 3 running backs get hurt.
Yeah.
For honestly, ironically, our rankings have it back to back to back. You said James Robinson, right?
Yeah, that was the third one. Yeah.
It's Kareem Hunt, Tyson Williams, James Robinson for us. And I think that's literally because in a plus matchup last week, Urban Meyer decided to not hand the ball off to a good running back, which was a terrible call.
He gave it the Carlos Hyde snapped him, which is crazy.
Which is ridiculous. But yeah, I think Kareem has the best upside early and late, just for both those games. All right, we got a couple more comments in the stream. This one, Corey Davis or Jacoby Myers in PPR.
That's interesting.
Personally, I know our rankings are going to say Corey Davis because Christian has him very high up. Personally, for me, it's Jacoby Myers.
I think I'm going to agree. For everything I said, it's just I can't trust the Jets against the Patriots this week. So I'm going with Myers here.
And Christian said, "Yes, I do."
We'll make it.
Okay.
We'll make it a total consensus 3 for 3. I'm going. The traditional rankings definitely show Davis ahead. I just don't love them. I just don't like the matchup for the Jets, and their implied total is only 18 points. The Patriots are actually a 6-point favorite for a reason.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance that the Patriots have more sacks than Corey Davis has catches. And that's for that reason, I would have to go the other side to their best receiver in Myers. Yeah. Christian actually having enough time to drop a question. Mike Williams, Nyheim Hines, or Jacoby. He's our starting Keenan. I mean,
all right. If he's starting Keenan, I'm a little against starting Mike Williams because, it is a sweet matchup. It's just the risk always is if you have players from the same team. If that team gets shut down, then you lose a lot of points. However,
I don't see him getting shut down. That's still the problem.
That's the thing. I don't see him getting shut down. You know what? I probably would go with Mike Williams. Actually, I think of these players, I think he's the best for this week.
Right.
I'm Mike Williams. I mean, like you said, I hate to go two receivers on the same team. The implied total for the Chargers is 29, so I don't expect anything getting shut down. We saw what Dallas did last week versus the Bucs, so I think you're okay going 2 wide receivers on the same team in this particular case.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that matchup is the only receiver they seemed to slow down last week was the outside jump ball deep threat guy.
Mike Williams.
So if they
I mean,
can shut
sorry,
down for an
Mike
extent
Evans.
Mike Evans, they
Yeah.
may be able to shut down Mike Williams. I think he has by far the highest upside, with Hines and Jacoby Myers probably having the same kind of like high floor games. So really, if you think you need the upside Christian, I would go Williams. I know he's your guy anyways. But if you need the floor, I don't think you really pick wrong with Jacoby or Hines. They probably both get 6 catches,
Yeah.
especially with the Colts receiving core just depleted right now.
I'm actually, I was gonna say as like a a bonus shout out. I do really like Hines. I think that they just paid him. I mean, I personally love Jonathan Taylor. Actually, I just traded for him this week in one of my leagues. But yeah, I would say I would go with Mike Williams. Yeah.
Of course. All right. Yeah. Next one from Breland B3 again. One more for him. And it's very depressing because it's Cortland Sutton or Brandon Ayuk. So 2 studs that did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It's basically a pick your poison.
I think I would go with Sutton. I know he did badly last week, and Judy wasn't there, and he is coming off the knee injury. I don't know. I think that he's more likely the wide receiver 1 on his team than Ayuk is. So
I would hope so at this point.
Yeah.
I will say it's like I said, it's pick your poison. Sutton is our leader for our consensus rankings on the week of the 2. It's kind of like Sutton actually got targeted at least. It doesn't seem like it fits Bridgewater's like best skill set to throw to kind of a possession jump ball kind of guy. So I do have some worry, but at least he got targeted.
Yeah.
So I think for safety I would go Sutton. And they are also in a game where they should be throwing early, getting up quick, and then running the ball. I think I would go Sutton for safety, but it's very close because both have me extremely nervous until we at least see something from them.
If for no other reason than matchups, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton over Ayuk in this particular case. I think actually
who are the Broncos playing this week? Who are they playing? The Broncos.
Bengals play the Jaguars, and the 49ers play the Eagles. So,
okay.
I actually like in DFS stuff. I've actually got a cheap stack to Bridgewater, and I think any of his 3 receivers could go off. But in all fairness, the Eagles have actually got a pretty decent defense. I would much rather go with Cortland Sutton, even like you said, we didn't see either one of them last week.
Yeah.
And the Jaguars is a juicy matchup. So
in theory,
the Texans just blew them out. So if the Texans can blow you out, then the Broncos I think are a way better team than that. So yeah.
All right. Next question from Luke Fans. At the flex, DJ Chark in a rainy Denver game, or sleeper and KJ Osborne. Honestly,
I would go with Chark.
I have to go with Chark just because he's actually they both, I think, had good weeks last week, but Chark is clearly the best receiver for the Jaguars. Now, will he get the most targets?
Deep receiver. I think Laviska's good for like the line of scrimmage stuff.
Especially with Higgins, with Travis Etienne going down. Laviska's going to get a lot more short targets. But Chark is by far their best, like, actual talented receiver, and Jones is a stick mover for them.
So for Osborne, I think that he's more. I think that what happened last week was Justin Jefferson had he was having cramps, I think, so he was out for part of the game. So they were giving him receptions. I don't think he's going to have week in week out huge value though.
No,
the Vikings almost never used to use three wide receiver sets.
They also had 2 tight ends.
Stick with that though, because they're like weak at tight end. But
I think Osborne was allowed to have some shine because of the Irv Smith injury, and them really only having a blocking tight end, at least for the first week that they cared about in the roster. I know they traded for a guy that no one wants to talk about ever. I think Osborne, at least in a game that should be a shootout against the Cardinals, has a decent like floor of like 3 catches, I would say. So if you really think that the Jaguars won't be able to throw the ball well in Denver, then I guess go the safe floor with Osborne. But for real, he's going to need a touchdown for him to really impress you.
Right,
So
he did not get one last week. So
yeah,
I think
I would.
Thielen and Jefferson and Cook are going to be their like red zone threats. I don't think they're going to Osborne for that. So.
The biggest thing for me is I would expect the Jaguars to be down early and often again. So I think they have a high pass rate yet again with a high touchdown interception rate for Lawrence. So I would just go Chark, especially a touchdown upside. Osborne had an 85% snap rate. I thought he played a lot more than just injury. I do think, especially in deeper leagues, he's a good hold for flex
I think
play.
he's a good hold. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Just seeing if we would talk you out of it. No, I don't want to talk you out of upside.
I think that Chark's definitely the better player, like the better play for this week. I mean, look, if there's another week that goes by and KJ Osborne has an amazing week, then we will reconsider all of this. But from what we see so far and what we know of the Vikings, I would go with Chark.
Yeah, it's just one of those like, do you want a guy that is probably going to get you 5 to 10 points, or a guy that could get you 20? And I'm going to go with the 20 most weeks, depending.
I would much rather have Chark. To be honest with you, I left Osborne on my waiver wire for now. For a deeper league, like 16 teams, I think he's a great play, on your bench. But I don't think this week's his week. Being honest, Arizona's got a really good defensive secondary.
Yeah, they just shut down the Titans, who are a better team than the Vikings, I think, or at least a better offense than the Vikings. And I think that their O-line, like the O-line on the Vikings, is already pretty bad. Like that D-line on the Cardinals is really good. Like they can completely shut down the Vikings this week. It's definitely
I mean that's really why the Cardinals got out to that early lead. They shut down the run game early with a lot of pressure. And they were just dominating the Titans' offensive line, who arguably is probably better than the Vikings' offensive line as we speak now, especially with injuries that both have. So I like Chandler Jones could have another 4 or 5 sacks. J.J. Watt was kind of feasting all game. So it's going to be a weird game, but it could be the highest scoring game. So I understand taking possibly a safe piece of it, but I'd rather. I really think Osborne would have to get a touchdown for you to even be happy that he was in your lineup at all.
Agreed.
I agree.
All right, next one from Myers 4523, which I think I know that it is. Tyler Boyd or Henry Ruggs at the flex. Good God.
Boyd for me, dude. Ruggs is playing. They're playing the Steelers.
They're playing the Steelers.
They have good defense.
They had a good. They didn't have a good defense. They had a good week last week, and I don't think they were as dominant as a defense last week, at least, as they were like last year. But again, they were going up against the Bills, and they held them to very little points. I think this is going to be
better. Like I think the Bills' offense is better than the Raiders' offense.
I think the question. I don't think there's any question that Tyler Boyd could have a lot of catches because it's going up against the Bears, who didn't seem to know how to play football on defense last week. But I think the real question is, do we think the combination of linebackers for the Steelers, and I would expect Minkah Fitzpatrick can slow down Waller enough that the other receivers have to do something? Because in that regard, Boyd he may have like Osborne had, because Chase had the most targets and catches last week, and he only had 5 catches. I believe T. Higgins had 4, and Boyd had like 3 or 2.
I think he had 3. I had him in another league, and he did nothing for me.
So Boyd they couldn't cover Cooper Kupp, so maybe they can't cover Boyd. But there's a good chance he has like 3 or 4 catches for 40 yards, and you're okay with it. And there's a good chance Ruggs has 1 catch for 80 yards. So,
true. Yeah.
Especially if they blitz, Carr has no problem just throwing that thing up there.
True. I will say, I think that. I don't know, because Ruggs had like 1 catch last week, right? Or 1. It was like 2 targets, maybe.
He had like 4 or 5 targets, I believe.
Okay.
I watched all of it, but when we weren't having a stream. But
Yeah, I watched the game too. I just don't remember. I remember that Edwards was more involved.
Edwards was
end.
had the bigger plays, and he had more pass interference, but he was looking at Ruggs a lot. Obviously, Renfro was the most involved receiver, so I think for safety, I would have to say Boyd, especially with the possibility of a bigger game with how inept they were covering the slot last week. But I would have no shock if Ruggs outscored Boyd. That's one of the harder questions we've had because one has a low floor but a sky high ceiling, and one has a medium to high floor and a medium to high ceiling. So that's a weird combination there.
Yeah. It's tough, but I would go with Boyd personally. I mean, Ruggs actually was completely absent from the game except for one drive in the second half. I want to say it was maybe like early fourth quarter. He had all of his catches on that one pretty much. And like you said, Edwards was pretty involved late. And it's actually a better matchup for Boyd in this one. The Steelers were pretty at home. And don't forget that Josh Jacobs is out. He might be stymied some too. So then if you want to completely rely on Derek Carr, that's up to y'all. But I'm definitely going Boyd.
Yeah.
For reference, Ruggs played 65% of snaps, 6.6 points, 5 targets, 2 catches, 46 yards. So he played exactly how we would assume Henry Ruggs would play.
Wait, you said it was 5 catches for 46 yards?
5 targets, 2 catches for 46 yards.
Okay.
So I think
I would go with Boyd.
I would go with Boyd just for the safety and the opportunity of a ceiling because of the defense, how the Bears defense played last week in the slot. But it's just one of those. You can't be shocked if Ruggs has a 50-yard touchdown.
But it will be only like he'll like legit have 2 catches, but one of those could be like a 50-yard bomb.
Yeah, I mean he's averaging 23 yards per catch currently.
Yeah,
which is great. But I don't know.
A lot of these plays also keep in mind is we're making decisions based on, but don't forget look at your lineup. Sometimes you need a massive. And if you do, Ruggs will be the play. But if you just need a safe, kind of safe medium play, you'd much rather play Boyd. So.
Yeah, definitely look at your full lineup, and if you think you'd be better off making sure you have.
So there are some players that are out for the Steelers D line, so there is
yes.
Oh, we're next to the next question. Who the Texans are playing the Browns.
Texans, yeah. Yeah, but this one I didn't read it out loud, but Brian, I think you got some feedback going there.
Yeah, there's some feedback on your side.
Jacoby Myers, Brandon Cooks, or Jarvis Landry, and a flex. I assume PPR. For me, it's Brandon Cooks, no question, with target upside and just touchdown upside, yard upside. I think Jacoby Myers and Landry.
I'm just a little afraid. The Browns do have a good defense. There's a solid defense. They shut down the Texans this week entirely. Like, I don't love the Texans. Like, it's very hard for me to trust the Texans. I might actually go with Jarvis Landry because he's on the opposite side of that matchup with a very good defense. I mean, but then again, the Browns could just run the ball all day.
Yeah, it'll be a bit of both. I mean, that's how they play. But for me, it's just Cooks because I expect the Browns to play very well against the Texans' run game. I don't think they're going to have 4 running backs have decent games, especially Ingram having a great game.
Yeah, that's a joke. That's not happening.
Yeah, that's an absolute joke. But but Cooks is no joke. Me and Christian have been on this for a long time. He's going to. I expect him to. He had, I think, like 8 targets last week, 5 catches, 150 yards or something like that. I would expect him to have at least 10 targets.
Yeah, he's a solid receiver. It's unfortunate for him that he keeps getting traded around.
Right.
He is a really solid receiver. I mean, personally, I might go with Myers just because, I like the Jets matchup. I think that I feel like he has probably the safer floor just because. I mean, I'm afraid I would I would avoid Cooks just because I don't trust the Texans at all.
Well,
then again,
but
somebody
if
does
you,
have to get the ball. I mean, there is that.
yeah,
But
that's the thing. Like, he's literally the only option. They threw to, I think the second most highest, or maybe the most highest targeted guy was Pharaoh Brown last week. So for me, it's Cooks because of the opportunity and talent. It's a mixture of both. Where Myers is very talented, he has great opportunity, but he also shares the targets with Jonnu, who is playing Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, James White. Landry is also solid, but again, I expected him to have probably like 3 or 4 catches because they just dominate in the run.
Yeah,
So,
you know what? I might go. You know what? I think I might change my mind. I'm gonna go with Cooks. Actually, I think you're right.
I think Cooks just has a safe floor, and the sky is high upside of the 3 by far.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets completely shut down. But yeah,
they didn't shut down Hill or anyone, so
I'm
true.
going Cooks on this one. Definitely favor Landry. And the Patriots are only expected to score. I think till Mac Jones completely goes off. It's going to be involved for sure.
All right. Next question from Rishi. I assume DJ Chark, James Robinson, or Jarvis Landry in flex full PPR. I think our answers so far from how we've answered some would be Chark.
The only thing I'm worried about with Chark is that he had 12 targets last week and only 3 catches, which is very low. That could be a mixture of Lawrence being a rookie QB. Like I watched parts of the game and he definitely looked up and down. I might go with Landry here just because. The low catch total scares. I'm gonna avoid James Robinson. He had too low a snap percentage for me to really consider him here.
Yeah, that's the only problem with Robinson.
Yeah, so I would probably go with Landry just because he is the top receiver over on the Browns. It really could OBJ's out. I definitely trust the Browns offense more than I trust the Jaguars. However, there is the chance that they're just going to run the ball all day and that Kareem Hunt ends up being the most targeted player, which could definitely happen. It's just, I like Chark. I don't know. Then we go with Landry here.
I think this is one of the toughest questions we've had. I don't particularly love any of them, but I'm going to guess the flyer. But I think James Robinson after last week, I would like to think Urban Meyer figures out that maybe my game plan didn't work so well. Maybe we'll get Robinson more involved.
I'm not going to hope on anything that Urban Myers figures out. So
yeah, I think you have I think you have some high upside for him. I just think with how much they're going to have to pass the ball, especially, I know it's apparently a rainy game in Denver. I just have to go Chark because of the usage of Robinson last week. I'd rather go him, but so far history with Myers says don't do that.
Yeah. Granted, I definitely think that of the players, Robinson's the best player, but he's just not used in the way we would like.
Yeah. All right.
Boyd,
next
Patrick,
one.
Parker.
Yeah. Next one, Tyler Boyd, Tim Patrick, or Devontae Parker. Okay.
So another thing I will say about Parker is I saw that Preston Williams is making his season debut this week.
Yes.
So there's that.
And the thing with that is Preston Williams and Devontae Parker, for what people inside the situation in Miami don't want to say is they're basically the same player, except one has some off-field issues and can't stay healthy, as the other one just can't stay healthy. So it's just an awkward situation. And I think, especially because he had a decent game and nothing great. Obviously, Waddle was by far and away the best option last week.
Yeah.
I would kind of just steer clear again, especially because you would assume he gets Trey White this week. So I'm just not touching that at all. He's going to have to get a jump ball to even catch it, probably.
Right. Yeah, and the Bills have good passing defense, too.
Yes. So then we get the 2 slot guys, one that stepped in for Jerry Jeudy and one that stepped into the shadows last week. Tyler Boyd. Not Tyler Boyd. So I think I would go upside Tim Patrick, just because for me, I have Noah Fant as a start of the week at tight end, but I think he can thrive, and Tim Patrick can thrive. But if you have concern that KJ Hamler will split that role fully with him, if you think he's going to take it over, I think it's clearly Tyler Boyd then for the choice.
I mean, Tim Patrick has more mouths to split with than Boyd does. So,
well, for his exact role, yes. Where Boyd is kind of, they don't have a tight end of any note, so it's literally Boyd or Mixon in that like short intermediate area in the middle, and that's it. So I think I would go Boyd slightly, and that's literally just because we kind of still need to see what Hamler is going to eat out of this workload.
One thing I always would recommend is, being just week 2, some of our better players going into week 1 didn't have the weeks they want. But guys like Tim Patrick and some of these other guys, yes, they had good weeks last week because of circumstances. Tyler Boyd going in, what your consensus ranking was early. So kind of overreact just to 1 week. So I'm definitely going Tyler Boyd.
All right. Yeah. Let's bust through a couple more here. From Ricky Blaze, Hines or Kenyon Drake in full PPR.
Hines.
I would say Hines. I think they both have a similar opportunity. I know Gruden in his old school ways wants to keep Kenyon Drake in his role where he's going to run a little bit but still be like their pass catching back. However, they may need that back more than anything, especially with, I don't believe Incognito's playing. Denzel Good got hurt. Their new center didn't look all that great last week. So the line for the Raiders isn't anywhere near what they've been used to. So we're asking who gets more catches, and I think it's Hines.
I'm going Hines also.
Yeah. I think Drake gets more carries, and Hines either ties or gets the more catches. But
I think the value goes to Hines because of that.
And
Drake's going to be running into a wall, unfortunately.
Then the worst thing is, I think this would have came out this way, but Peyton Barber's been mentioned as the primary ball carrier anyway. So
he's going to be the bruiser. But I think Drake
goal line back. I think that like when they're on the 2-yard, they're going to put Peyton in there to punch it in. That's what I think that is.
Which is what kills Drake's upside. So that's why I'm going Hines because even with Taylor, Hines is still used in the red zone. So
all
right. Next one: Juju Smith-Schuster or Christian Kirk. I am somehow becoming a known Juju hater. I'm gonna go Christian Kirk though, and it's literally just because I didn't think AJ Green played all that well, and I think he'll still be on the field, but I expect either Rondo Moore or Christian Kirk to have a good game. And it could be both.
They have a good matchup too.
And it's going to be a high-scoring game where the Raiders-Steelers could be high-scoring. It's just one of those you don't know. I mean, obviously, when the Raiders win, I believe what was it they gave up 27 points. They scored like 30. But it's just one of those. I would rather expect that Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson get a lot of the short work needed with the honestly really good Raiders pass rush last week, probably against a worse offensive line now in the Steelers. And so you're taking a shot of who's going to get more pieces, and I would rather get Kirk, especially for touchdown upside.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kirk is the play here. It's just like Judy. I mean, 3 years ago, he had a great year, and then he never kept that up again.
Exactly. Unfortunately.
I think that I would go with Kirk.
I really do think Juju, if he switches teams next year, can be way more successful than the last 2 years have been.
I agree with that.
Honestly, Deontay Johnson is better in the role. And then you add in the development of a deep threat in Claypool as well as a gadget player. He's just becoming phased out of the offense, where Christian Kirk literally just needs to step into his own, and he clearly has his role. So
I'm with you there for sure.
Yeah, of course. Everyone that answered, thank you for dropping questions, and we're very happy to answer anything and everything. One more from Twitter here. Quarterback question for our second quarterback of the league. Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, or Andy Dalton. I think for the easiest answer possible, Sam Darnold for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Darnold. Yeah. Because, I mean, I don't even love Darnold that much, but, I mean, as I said, Zach Wilson's up against the Patriots, and I don't believe in that, and, yeah, I'm gonna go with Darnold here. Who was the third one? I don't even remember.
I'm on Donald.
What was that?
Who was the third QB?
Andy Dalton.
And, yeah, I'm going with Darnold here.
Yeah. I believe we're pretty much through the Twitter questions, which is kind of amazing because we got a lot of them today. Christian's been doing a great job responding on Twitter.
Yeah, he has. I saw that.
All right. Honestly, is there any guys you guys want to shout out? Maybe Brian from a DFS purpose this week that is kind of going to be a shock play that you think could have high upside?
Shock play with high upside.
For me, I think Troutman at tight end is a good option, but wide receiver wise, I wouldn't be shocked if Renfro has a similar week. So, especially for DFS, if you're getting the lineup in here quick, he's a good cheap option, like 3,600. In a deep league, I think I would play him over some of the guys we talked about today.
He's good. I mean, I would honestly say that I actually really like Christian Kirk as like a player that can really pop off. I would probably throw his name. I mean, I know we just talked about him, but yeah, I probably would go with that.
I agree. I think he has more like yardage touchdown upside than Renfro, but Renfro obviously with the catch upside.
There is Nelson Aguilar. I know we've been talking a lot about Jacoby Myers, but Nelson Aguilar is the player that just got paid. He, as far as we know, he's the top receiver over there for now. So he had a better week last week. So there's that.
He did.
So, but he had fewer targets. So,
in that same game with Christian Kirk, don't forget about Rondell Moore. He's would be my high upside guy.
I really like Rondell Moore too.
I have him as I definitely have him in at least one DFS lineup this week.
Dude, I really feel like Cliff Kingsbury was trying to trick everybody. So I remember over the summer, like that Hopkins came out saying that like he really liked AJ Green. He's been in the best shape of his life, blah 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 blah. And then he's like, I don't really like Rondell Moore. He's like, I haven't seen anything from him. That's like basically what he said.
I will say AJ Green got snaps and targets. It's just he did nothing with them, whereas everyone else did. I think Rondell Moore, he had a decent start. I think he has that chance to break out.
That was his first game. He was a rookie. Like he looked good to me, and he was so he had a high percentage of targets per route run. So that means when he's on the field, they're targeting him. So
well, as a rookie first game, you get 4 catches, and then you go to yet another possible high-scoring game. I think you ride that wave. Another question here from Clamped Easy. CEH or T. Higgins in the flex? We haven't talked about CEH today. Christian actually has him as sit of the week, which upset me personally. But I am also sitting him only because I have a ton of running backs in those leagues that I have him. He is lower on our list, but so is T. Higgins. Quickly here, CH is RB21 for us, where T. Higgins is like wide receiver, like 28, 30 or something for us. It's not a great matchup. The Raiders running backs against the Ravens last week. I think they ended up combining for like 80, 90, 100. The total was like 100, but the running backs were like 50 yards between Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs, who were really good backs. I mean, let's not take anything away from them. So CH probably needs to get a couple catches, which is very, very possible. I think floor-wise, because of touchdown upside, I would say CH has the better floor, with T. Higgins as a better ceiling.
Yeah, I would probably go with CEH just because I tend to favor running backs in that's
why they usually have the better floor, because they get more touches.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with CEH just because of the opportunity.
It's a tough situation, tough call for me, but I'll go with CEH in this case as well.
Yeah, I think I think they both have a decent floor. Higgins probably has the best ceiling.
Yeah. I would say this also. So CEH, the Chiefs are playing the Ravens, and the Ravens are their defense. I mean, they normally have a good defense, but they're dealing with a lot of injuries.
They are. I would hope he gets some passing work, but then you have Patrick Queen most likely fly into him to stop any progress after the catch.
Yeah.
And again, like the Raiders couldn't get much done You know what? Actually, I think CEH is the better play because Kenyon Drake did have a decent day through the air against the Ravens, while none of them could really get it done on the ground except at the goal line. So, again, I think CEH is the better play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives you a little bit of combo, safe forward and stealing. All right. I think. Is there any other people you want to cover here? I think we could go for another couple minutes if we need to, but we don't have any extra questions flowing through at the moment. So
Yeah, I don't have anything else off the top of my head.
yeah,
I think
I don't know if you have any start set questions of your own. So that's us.
I already talked to the one that I had that I ended up going with Mike Williams. So
yeah. Honestly, most places.
I do have one thing. Okay, so I'm trying to pick up a backup tight end in my league. So I have TJ Hawkinson, but
Okay.
I'm looking at as a backup. So I'm debating between Cole Kmet or Jared Cook. Who would you guys go with? And this is a backup just to sit on the bench for most of the year.
Cole Kmet for me because Justin Fields. They said today on a road that he was actually going to have more snaps this week. And
yeah, I saw that too.
Whenever he gets in there, it's going to be Kmet over.
Yeah. And I think the way you frame the question makes it Kmet for me as well. Like if you're, if I maybe this week in flex, or maybe I need to play him next week, I think I might go Cook right now. Especially, I know Cole Kmet Farley outsnapped Jimmy Graham, but in the red zone, he does take away some touchdown possibility for him. At least while Andy Dalton's around until Fields gets around, I think. But if he's just sitting on your bench, I would much rather take a shot at a young guy breaking out than a young guy or an older veteran that continuing to do what he's done for 4 years.
That's what I was thinking because Jared Cook's the better play for this week because they're playing the they're playing the Cowboys. It's a great matchup. But I think that long term, Cole Kmet has the real breakout potential. And I think that Cole Kmet's value is going to go up where Jared Cook's is going to go down. Jared Cook is 34. I looked it up. So.
Honestly, worst case, in my opinion, they end up basically being the same rank every single week. So at that point, I'd rather take the young guy that's going to have a QB change eventually.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, guys. I think that'll do it for us on the Start Sit Show for this week. Happy to actually be able to show up for one. I don't know how often this will be for me, but just check out everything in the cut every single day. The only days we don't have anything is like Tuesday and Saturday, but then you can just, if you didn't watch the live stream, you can catch a show from the night before. The next show will be the cut Monday at 10:30. So recapping the week as well as definitely live watching the Monday night game because we definitely do that.
Last one was a great game.
Honestly, this was fun. I love answering start sit questions. I get them all day at work. Ironically, even to people that don't know I do this. I don't know. I just give off the vibe, I guess. But I'm glad I got to do this today, and hopefully I get to do it in a couple weeks here.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.